upon all of you to wage a second American nonviolent revolution, to use civil disobedience, and to demand that this president leave town, to get out, to put the Quran down, to get up off his knees, and to figuratively come up with his hands up.
All right. Before you dismiss that guy as the lunatic that he is, Larry Klayman, who describes himself as a one-man Tea Party, he was talking about our president on Sunday, and he also accused him, I should say, of deliberately pursuing policies that would lead to the deaths of members of our armed forces because he says Obama is an Islamist. Oh, and that speech got, by the way, huge cheers. And at that event, and this to me is the most recognizable thing, was Glenn Beck. Okay, you say, so what? Sarah Palin, again, you say, oh, she was yesterday's news. But Senators Ted Cruz and Mike Lee were standing there in attendance when this guy spoke that way, not only of our nation's president, but also, in effect, telling people to rise up against the country. And American U.S. senators stood there while this vial was getting spewed here. So, give you an idea of what was there. Now, in addition here, he is not alone. Like so many at the Tea Party events, the groups came with colorful decorations, a lot of American flags, a lot of Don't Tread on Me flags, and in each of these pictures, you see a Confederate flag. And again, U.S. American senators standing there in attendance, none the worrier. Now, it all brings us to the question that we've asked here before, and I got a question. I'm going to go to you, Mr. Bryce, here. When does somebody in the mainstream GOP say enough is enough on this and tell the Tea Party here that they don't speak for the grand old party? And these guys aren't just alone at this. You have conservative notables here. Author David Frum, who worked for Bush. He's been asking this very question for a while, asking people and the moderates in his party to stand up, saying, quote, instead of making excuses, responsible Republicans need to challenge their own party. Party leaders know the right thing to do. They're afraid to do it. And what happens when a Tea Party goes unchecked like this? You face a fiscal crisis with a debt limit that everybody at this table agrees, Republican, Democrats alike, this is not good, okay? Well, apparently some lawmakers not so scared. Representative Joe Barton from Texas, this is what he had to say this month. Well, we have in my household budget some bills that have to be paid and some bills that are only paid partially. He actually believes that. And going even a step further, Congressman Ted Yoho, he said not raising the debt ceiling will bring stability to the world markets. You cannot make this stuff up.
He is making this stuff
Yes,
up.
he is. None of what these guys said is true, but what the scariest part is, I think they believe it. We were saying in the break, Chris Christie or his like could be smart to jump on him right now. They've done a little bit from the periphery. The first person who says these guys have no clothes, like that old parable that we learned, they're going to be the winners. I know this politically sooner than later. When, though, does the party say enough?
You know, it's funny that came to probably the only conservative on here, that particular question. I think it's
not funny. I meant it.
I think there are a few questions here. Number one, I think, my question is, where's the leadership in Washington? Right now you've got Rance Priebus, who I think his heart is in the right place with the Growth and Opportunity Project. But we still haven't seen any movement.
But how about his postmortem after the election? What he said, we got to reach out to different groups and everything else.
But reaching out how? And I think it starts with, number one, the Speaker of the House should be dead set to say, listen, this is about the country paying its bills on time. This is not about calling the president an Islamist. And I think what you're doing is you're creating more enemies by not saying anything than actually responding and saying, listen, this is where we stand. This is what we're about. And let me also say this. I think one of the issues that we're seeing in Washington right now is not only are we not seeing a lack of leadership, but we're beginning to start to see states' rights really become an issue, where state governors are going to say, wait a minute, if the federal government won't do it, I'll do it. One example, as we mentioned, Chris Christie, who has actually cut the budget. And he's actually told people why he cut the budget. And I think those are the type of things that other Republican governors are going to begin to do. And what's going to happen, folks are going to say, well, wait a minute, rather than me have all of this respect and all this show for the federal government, maybe I actually need to pay more attention to my state government.
You're even seeing on a state level, look at Arizona, okay?
Right.
Governor Brewer, who I think's a few cards short of a full deck, she broke ranks with Republicans because she did the math and said, I got to opt into this health care plan. Otherwise, I'm screwed. It's going to be coming out of my pocket to do this.
And more state governors are going to be able
So
to do that.
you're going to have Republicans, if they just did the math, they said, wait a second. We want to win.
Right.
We can win nationally. What are we doing? The math doesn't add up. You're going to hurt the states if they don't do this. Every poll, I got 50 of them. I'm not going to bore you with this. Every poll says Republicans are getting killed on this issue. Republican members in Congress and the Senate are saying, guys, we're getting killed here. What are we doing? Somebody, the adult has to step up in the room. And we always joke, Dominic, I'll give Andrew a source on this one. Forget that Ronald Reagan couldn't be elected as a Republican today. The Pope couldn't make it out of a Republican primary. I'm not kidding. Have you ever seen anything like this?
No,
ever.
And I couldn't agree with you more, and I just don't see how it's going to be corrected. I really don't, because the more these guys go off the ranch, the more they're rewarded at home. You could talk to your blue in the face. It's not going to change their philosophy.
I tell you why you're wrong. What did we see about a week and a half ago? Big business coming out louder than they had.
It means nothing.
No,
it means
they're
nothing.
going to run against these guys primary. We'll see if they put the money up, but
Right.
they say they're going to raise the money. I mean, for crying out loud.
It'll be interesting to see where Fox News falls if you've got a business Republican up
Yep.
against a Tea Party Republican.
Fox News falls on embarrass this president. And so they're going to egg these guys on, and that's exactly what's happening.
But if you have a split in
Yeah.
the Republican rank, which way it would go? Look, you asked where Reince Priebus is, but the tail's wagging the dog of the Republican Party right now. The Republicans would be the minority in the House and would have none of the branches of government had it not been for the Tea Party and the way that the country is districted right now. So nobody like a Priebus, no leader is going to tell
You know what's
is
brought
going to tell
about,
the
though,
Tea Party
Andrew,
where to go.
Everything's cyclical. I mean, they've had control of the House before without having to go to the Tea Party. They've gotten Senate majorities before without having to go to the ends of the world to the Tea Party.
They lost the House by 1.5 million votes last year.
But they also lost the presidential election.
No, I understand
okay?
that.
So
but House candidates, Republican House candidates got 1.5 million fewer votes than Democratic House candidates.
Somebody's got to do the math and say Republicans. You ever want to have a Republican president again? You ever want to have somebody in the most important job rather than the other ones?
Right.
You got to change something here.
Well, and here's the thing. I think that change is simply negotiation, it's compromise, and it's talking. It's simply communicating what are the issues and what is the issue at hand. Right now, the majority of those Tea Party folks, who I'm sure mean well, but when you actually get down to what is the issue, what is the debt ceiling, explain it. I guarantee very few of those people can actually explain what that issue is.
Compromise. They want blood.
And that's the problem.
But Andrew, all of a sudden, come Monday, when certain things aren't coming in the mail here, and all of a sudden they're going to say, well, hold on a second. I paid $350 a month for my car. Now all of a sudden I'm paying $435. What's going on here? Why is my mortgage going up? Okay. All of a sudden, how am I going to make my student payments? All these other things that don't happen, they're going to look to somebody, and the president's going to say, "Don't look at me. Look at those guys." And you know what? They can deny it all they want, but in the end,
they're very likely to believe the guy who says, "No,
okay,
don't look at me.
then
Look
how
at the
come
president."
three-quarters of the
Right.
American
I
public
understand.
blames them?
I understand what you're
All
saying.
right? All right, when we come back here, we're going to head over to the Garden State here, where there is an election, not next year, but tomorrow. New Jersey picks a new senator. We'll profile the race straight ahead.